Good morning. I am Kenya Magruder, Director of Civic and Community Engagement with the Urban League of Middle Tennessee. And today we are here for our second interview with Miss NaTisha Brooks, candidate for Mayor of Nashville, Davidson County. So, Miss Brooks, NaTisha, as you have told me, I am welcome to call you. Welcome to the Urban League of Middle Tennessee.
Thank you for having me.
No, thank you for being here. So first off, tell us your name and the correct pronunciation of your name.
Thank you so much. NaTisha, NaTisha. Not NaTisha, not Natasha, not Latasha. NaTisha. The so take it up, NaTisha.
Well, thank you for saying that. But also tell us, like, this is your first time running for office, yes?
No.
No, okay.
I ran for the 5th Congressional District.
Yes, okay. So, but this is first in county, but that was countywide as well.
Right.
But it was for our new congressional district that you
Yes,
were. Okay.
that is correct.
So we're staying corrected, Nashville, that Miss Brooks, NaTisha, has ran for office before. And so tell us what made you decide to officially run for mayor of Nashville.
I was in the congressional district running for the 5th Congressional District, and I had heard through a little bird that they were going to gerrymander the districts. I was right. The people that told me that was right. I was campaigning in Cheatham County and Dixon County, and I had spent a lot of money. And finally, right before they called the new lines, I received a phone call that said, NaTisha, stop with Cheatham, stop with Dixon. And I said, oh, okay. Well, you know something? Yes, we know something. Actually, I was sitting next to Odessa Kelly when the lines were
officially drawn and named, yep.
And I remember almost trying to catch her because she kind of fell over like, I cannot believe those are the new lines. And I watched the vote happen right before me.
Right.
So I want to get the monkey out of the room, per se. I ran on a Republican side because we wanted representation. I knew what was going down.
We are nonpartisan with the Urban League of Middle Tennessee, and so we embrace all candidates, and which is why. But also, please know that this election is a nonpartisan election. But we appreciate you being truthful about you running in that congressional district. So I'm going to tip into that just a little bit so people can have a better understanding. In 2020, we participated in our duty of doing a census.
That's right.
And we knew that that census was coming down and that was going to make some changes. And coincidentally, we're still in court today.
That's right.
For the reshaping. So we went from having one congressional member, which was then Congressman Jim Cooper, to now having three. And I don't even think any of the three actually live in Nashville.
And that's the reason why I'm running for Nashville mayor. I live in Nashville, and Antioch, we call it the Brainioch area. And it's appalling to me that we have 3 members, not one female. They're all male. They do not live in Davidson County. Don't pay sales tax in Davidson County. Don't even rent in Davidson County. However, myself being of the party that I'm affiliated with, I chose to run for mayor because of the tensions between the state. So you have to strategically vote for a mayor that can work with the state legislatures for the pipeline for the money to Davidson County.
So let's talk about that pipeline for money. As I was preparing for this, I think this week, and I want to say it might have been the Fox News forum. It's been so many. But there was a question that was asked about transportation, and you talked about the bumps and the lumps of Hey, if you are moving and grooving around Nashville, you have hit something.
Yeah.
But you talked about the hotel tax,
Yeah.
the 3%.
Yeah.
But you talked about if we took 1% of that and put it towards transportation. Let's talk about that a little bit more because I think that that is, first of all, I really think that that's a smart idea. Talk about how much of an impact that can have for Nashville Davidson County, not just on transportation, but on anything that we would like to earmark that additional 1%. Can you talk more about
that?
that?
My goodness. So one thing I'm big on, and I'm glad that you said that this was nonpartisan. I'm really big on fashion and really big on the arts.
Okay.
I first started, I'm 33 years retired in education. I taught in inner city school, which was my favorite, Carver Middle School, hello. And then I taught at Hillsborough High School as chemistry, physics. And then I had my own homeschool academy, the Brooks Masters Academy. I've turned that over to family members. I'm officially retired. And our emphasis on our homeschool academy was people of color and those that are on the spectrum, autism. We worked with those. So with that 1%, going back to that 1%, I want to use that for transit. One, not just from Murfreesboro to downtown and airport to downtown. There's more streets in Nashville besides Broadway.
They are.
Believe me. I would like the transit to come through Brantioch. I'm being biased. And I have lots of family members, hello to you, in Bordeaux. And we need to get those speed bumps in Bordeaux. So I'm going to take the percentage of that and make sure that we have transit. And what we're looking for, and I want you to be patient with me, think about it. To alleviate traffic, we need to go up. A lot of cities do that. I've been around all the world, set foot on every continent except Antarctica. Monorail, a newspaper actually made fun of me by saying, we'll never get monorail. That's why we failed, because you have no vision.
Not thinking big enough.
Yes.
And Nashville is not a horse and buggy town.
Exactly.
We are a metropolitan. We are the music city, and people come in here internationally.
Exactly.
Like this weekend happens to be Bonnaroo, and there are going to be tons of people coming in. So with that money, so you said putting it towards transportation.
Yes.
What other things? Because I would think that that 1% can also go towards other things that you feel as a mayor that you could do.
One thing I'm going to do is work with the legislature on, and I hope we talk about the size of the city council too. You have to work because they established a law. Some of the questions that are asked at some of these forums and debates, mayor has no control over that. We're going to tell you what we do have control over. Mm-hmm. And kudos to the Black Assembly Forum. Miss Erica Perry was over that. They actually taught people before the forum started what the job of a mayor does and what mayors do not do. Okay? So what I'm going to do is, one, go to the legislature and advocate, lobby, if you will, that property taxes can never exceed or be voted on above this percentage.
And above which percentage?
Above this percentage that I'm looking at in any given time.
Is it the 1%, or you just talking about you don't have a declared number?
I do have a declared number. So our property taxes increased up to 34%.
Yes, ma'am.
I want to put it before the legislature that at no given time, whether it's pandemic, catastrophes, anything, that you can never vote on a property tax increase above 5%.
So you're basically asking for the state to come back into Nashville's business one more time, because that has been the bone of contention of this legislature this year, and I think that that's also been a swan song for you all as mayor candidates, is how much overreach we have had from in the legislature. I would probably say that you would probably get a lot of pushback from people, because you are actually saying that you want to go up to the legislature and ask them to do that, and that's been probably what's painstaking us primarily right now, what's happening, um, for what's happening with the community oversight board. That
Right,
has been
right.
that. So, we voted for that in 2018.
Right.
Are you in support of the community oversight board staying the way it is? Because as of July 1st, it will become a lesser fraction of what we actually voted for in 2018.
Right. I'm glad you asked that question. So back to, I'm gonna answer that
Mm-hmm.
question, but I'm gonna go back to, yes, I don't, like with the BNA, I don't want the legislature taking over the BNA. That is, to me, the metropolitan
Yes,
area.
ma'am.
But where we can get help from, that is something, because right now we're being priced out of our own city.
Yes, ma'am.
We can't make the law to say, hey, I can't go before the council and say, our cap is going to be at 5%. That has to be a lawmaker's duty. So where you're supposed to be your lawmaker, be your lawmaker. Where you're supposed to stay out of our business, stay out of our business. On the oversight committee,
Community oversight board.
committee oversight board.
Mm-hmm.
What I would have liked to have seen, and I think they would not have reached into it, is that who makes up the oversight board. I think that we need to make sure, what have made me feel good about it is if we would have had members of the first responders on the board, members of each community, make sure that each community is represented on that board.
Right.
Uh,
So I will say this is that you do have a retired police officer that has served on the board, because that was part of it. So if you read like some of the charter, and each member of the council can make nominations for the oversight board.
yes.
So you have an array of community. What is becoming the watered down version is that they will lose their investigation, and more so their subpoena power. So that now it will be stripped from them, and it will go back to the city. And so now you have a few members who are actually putting forth a bill that will give them the power to do the subpoena on their request, which is kind of, making it a little hard. There's a lot going on in our community locally,
right.
and of course, like what's happening nationally. So,
right.
With the community oversight board, would you say that you would support it staying just the way it is today, doing what they have been doing, and investigating and getting down to the bits of what has transpired, in Nashville, Davidson County with the police department?
I absolutely would.
Yeah.
I absolutely would. And let me tell you another thing. If you notice, if you've watched any of the forums, I have said that I am a constitutionalist. A constitutionalist does not work just on the Republican side or the Democrat side or independent side. When you talk about the Community Oversight Board, it really could have, what I would have done is send it straight to court. If you believe in something and you believe that your constitutional rights have been violated, then you can get a constitutional lawyer. If you cannot afford a constitutional lawyer, I recommend legal aid. You can always have representation.
So, and that brings another question to me, because the city is filing on home rule for the airport. However, would you, as mayor, like to see the city file a lawsuit regarding the community oversight board?
That's what, yes. If you feel right now, because I am a resident of Nashville, and this is important to me, and sometimes you may not agree with your party, and sometimes you may disagree with your party. This is one of the things that I've had to go back and research. I always say on my podcast, I talk, you listen, do your research. Did this represent me? Yes. Did this offend my rights or violate my rights in any other way? No. How does this not only represent not the word Nashville? So those of you that might be watching this, Nashville is made up of different communities, and so therefore we have to make sure that each community is represented.
And 58% of the voters in 2018 voted overwhelmingly to support the community oversight board. So what has happened is that the legislator has basically taken away our right,
And
suppressed us
and that's
in
what I
such
was
a
getting
favor.
at. If
Yep.
you notice everything that I say, put it to a vote. Like for instance, I'm not against the Tennessee Titans. Eddie George, one of my dear good friends, goat of all time. I'm not against the Tennessee Titans. I'm against how it was done. It should have been put to a vote.
Are you speaking more in regards to the stadium?
Yes.
Is that what you're speaking more?
Just like with the oversight, I want to make sure that I'm not going around the circle of the oversight committee.
Yes, ma'am.
Just like that, it was put to a vote, and it went past 50%. I'm a 50+1 girl. If it does, then guess what? As your mayor, I'm gonna be for it. That's why I say put it to a vote.
So let's talk about something else. As a retired educator, which means that you never stop teaching, let's talk about third grade retention and how one, the impact that that's going to have on our community. And I think in several steps. Talk about that, and as mayor, what you would do to help turn Nashville's reading third grade retention problem around.
Good. So, as an educator and a curriculum director, this is one I am against my party on. And I'm going to go through the halls. If you've been following me on social media, you'll say, there she goes again through the halls. So, on the third grade retention, one must understand, especially as a special ed person, everyone does not test the same. You cannot take one test and say, this is how we are going to assess you, whether you will retain or whether you move forward in the future to the next grade level. No, sir, no, ma'am. And I'm very adamant on what I'm about to say next. There needs to be different types of tests. Some people do better on hearing. Actually, you read and they can answer the questions. You have people like a lot of my students are dyslexic. Was the test discriminatory? We have a lot of people, Nashvillians, that are on the spectrum and they don't even know they're on the spectrum. They haven't been tested for an IEP or a 504. So they could have test anxiety and don't even know they have test anxiety. How do I know that? I actually sat in proxy a test where two of the young children actually used the bathroom on themselves. They were so nervous that they couldn't even focus to take the test. So, another thing, Tennessee legislatures, why do we get tests from other states to administer to our students? Some students don't know the difference between a crescent and a croissant or a biscuit. We Southerners know 2 biscuits plus 3 biscuits is 5 biscuits. But when our third graders see the word crescent, they get all confused on what a crescent is instead of focusing on what 2 plus 3 is. I know I'm making sense on this. So we need to get a standardized test. What I'm asking for from the legislature, because this is from the state down, this cannot come from the mayor. This is from the state down. I'm asking that we do our own testing. We've got enough teachers here that have PhDs that we can formulate our own standardized testing and give our own statewide testing to what our culture is.
So I'm gonna, because you drill down and we know that reading is called third grade retention. Reading, however, the test is not actually about reading. It from what you are implying, it's more about comprehension.
That is correct.
And not about reading. And so our kids, so the impact that can have on us going into the workforce, and also that also can create the prison to pipeline situation. But as a mayor, you oversee the city. You oversee, work with businesses, public and private. And so, what could be something that you can be implemented from the Brooks administration to help increase our reading in our children?
One, a lot of people don't realize that everybody is not an 8 to 5 worker, 9 to 6. We have people that work second shift jobs, third shift jobs. We want to make sure that we have before, I don't want to say care, before learning academic care and after academic care, where the teachers are overworked. I've said this, teachers starting pay $70,000 a year, it can be done. Where we have not just a teacher in a room, but not just a paraprofessionals, excuse me. We need to start hiring more teachers assistants in the room and more teachers, instead of our teachers going to work at Walmart after they're done, they can stay within the school, and instead of our parents paying tutors to tutor their kids, why can't we do that? Just keep our teachers there.
So you actually the wraparound services.
Yes.
So you would work to ensure that there will be funding to make sure that.
Oh, yes.
So as we move around this, kind of lighten the issue.
Yeah.
Tell us why you wear hats.
One of my favorite legislators of all time is Senator Thelma Harper. I actually met her at an egg hunt. Y'all remember the Easter egg hunt?
Yes.
That she
Rain or shine.
Rain or shine, that Easter egg hunt. And when I met her, she had on a hat. And I kept asking everybody, well, where's Senator Harper? And there she is right there. Where she is. I've always been in politics all my life, and I've always respected our leaders no matter what the party affiliation is. So when I met her, the one thing that I've always remembered about her is an answer to a question that I asked her. I said, you have an Easter egg hunt and it happened to be raining. You have an Easter egg hunt every year like this? She said, rain, shine, sleet, or snow. I said, well, it's a little chilly out here today, but I admire you having this Easter egg hunt. And she looked at me and she said, we have to take care of those that can't take care of themselves. Always remember that. That's your job. And she put a little Bible in it. The poor will always be with you. And I said, that's right. A lot of people don't have the money that we have. Then she corrected me. And this is where mental health comes in. I didn't mean in money. She didn't know my name. I didn't mean in money. I meant in spirit. And I said, oh, she said, that's why I have this Easter egg hunt every year. We want to see people's spirits lifted.
Right.
So I went home. I didn't eventually wear hats immediately. This has been about like 10 years in the making.
Mm-hmm.
But for the past couple, I would say about 8 to 10 years, I do wear a hat every day. But that was so profound to me that she didn't know my name, but she answered my question directly. And she made me understand what her Easter egg hunt was about.
So, as you have been running for mayor, what do you think is the most vital issue that's facing Nashville, and particularly because we are the Urban League, what is facing the African American community and underserved populations?
For me, because of where I stay, you always know when times are hard because for sale signs start going up everywhere. People they're scared. I'm going to say this real slowly. This is the first election to the last election that's going to affect your family, your children, and your children's children. The Bible says we prepare for our children's children. The one thing that the minority community is faced with and most concerned with, African American, Bhutanese, Egyptians, Somalians, West Africans, Kurdish, Muslim, we're all wondering where we're going to live in 2 years. Is that the Nashville that we want? Gentrification. our seniors, our disabled, we're really going to charge them $30 to park downtown? We're really going to tow someone? My car actually almost got towed in East Nashville, and I had to pay $100 for them to drop my car.
Where were you in East Nashville?
I was at Snooze Restaurant. I said Snooze, I was going to tell you. I was going to say it. But I was at Snooze after the manager said I could park where I was able to park. And my car got lifted up. People were taking pictures because they saw my hat. And some customers came out and said, "We know you. Miss Brooks, you know how we feel now." I said, "Yes, I know how you feel."
Well, I'm from Nashville, and let me just say this is that Nashville has changed. And you talked about the affordability, but excuse me, you were talking about looking at the for sale signs. Let's talk about affordable housing. What is your plan for affordable housing in Nashville?
So we had a forum, the Home Builders Association, and we had a forum with them, and surprisingly, I couldn't believe it. I just thought that, okay, everybody just wants to build, 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 build. But surprisingly, afterward, some builders came to me and said, "NaTisha, we liked your answer on income base. We keep saying affordable housing. I'm trying to get everybody to say affordable income base, because what's affordable to me may not be affordable to you."
Yes, ma'am.
Right? So we have some developers already ready to go to work with the next mayor to build income-based affordable housing. Your job as a mayor is to network with those that can help us. What about those of you that are already staying where you are? You've lived in an apartment for 5 years. We had a voter that came to us and said, "I started at this apartment at $750, and that was at 2012. Their rent is now $27.50 for the same apartment." This, again, is not the job of a mayor. I can't do anything about that, but I can go to the halls of the legislature to get them to put a cap.
But they have not.
But they have not.
And they won't do it because they stopped it maybe about 10 years ago when the council actually tried to do some affordable development, housing, and they, overreached and kind of slapped Nashville's hand and said, "No, we're not going to do that." But what about some actual incentives or some programming?
Good.
Because we are a city. It's bustling, it's booming. A lot of people who work in Nashville don't actually live here. So if you're looking for affordable housing that is based on income, because of the fact that, like you said, everyone does not make the same level of income. But what program would NaTisha implement in Nashville Davidson County that will be affordable housing?
Well, I like this program, TIF, the Tax Increment Fund. I like that. I'm studying that. If there are any other programs that I need to look into, I personally like this program because it works with the seniors and the disabled.
Okay.
Now, as far as young adults, those that are in the 18 to 40 range, I am aware of some nonprofits. However, I want to make sure that when you're working with a nonprofit, that the money is going towards that specific. There's no earmarks.
Yes, ma'am.
Nothing. Give me a little bit more time to look at these 4 other nonprofits before I mention their names, because once again, I want to make sure that there are no loopholes of somebody to come back and say, "Oh, well, nobody applied for this, and therefore this went to the general fund."
Well, I will tell you, here at the Urban League, we have a new program here, and it's called Red Academies, which is Real Estate Development Academy for developers of color. And they are in an 18-month class. There are 12 in this class, African American men and women, and they actually will complete their program by the end of this year. But that incentive that was put forth in partnership with Amazon's Housing Equity to put them in a place where they develop affordable housing in Nashville.
Okay.
So I would encourage you as you look around for that. Look, that's the developer side, but
Yes.
they're developing what will be affordable housing here in
Which will
Nashville.
roll me into another part of our platform, trade school certificates in high school. We have a lot of magnet schools here. A lot of people don't know I am also a farmer. So everybody's not going to college.
Yes, ma'am.
But
They're
as
not.
people are in high school, if they can go ahead and get their construction license,
Yes,
a
ma'am.
trade school certificate,
Yep.
that would work hand in hand with your program.
Yep.
And people can live, I always tell people, don't live through your children, live with your children.
You talked about workforce. You talked about training, which is the bread and butter of what the Urban Links mission is, empowering community and changing lives. And we know that everyone cannot go to school, but they can, get a trade, whether it is in plumbing, whether it's an entrepreneur that's a barber or what have you. What other things, our community has plummeted. Technology, tech jobs have increased 17%, and we know that that's a divide in our community for tech jobs for women, but also people of color. So what else would other incentives to increase in our workforce would you bring in a Brooks administration?
And in the Brooks administration, the Fortune 500 companies, 3 to 500 companies, if you're going to come here, we want you to drop your check at the door. And I'm very serious about that. We need you to write your check. Another thing that I'm trying to make sure that this is constitutionally sound, I'm working on, is that we have people that live in other states that may sell their home for $2 or $3 million, and then they come to Tennessee and buy this big mansion and pay for it cash for $800 or $1 million. I want to make sure this is constitutionally sound before I put this before Brooks administration. We need you to leave your check at the door too. I have looked at other states where they actually charge a tax on your former sale before you come in to the state. Right now, people from outer state just come in, take care of themselves, and for me, I feel like turning their nose up on those that are already living here. So, and in the Brooks administration, we want to make sure that companies that come here, that you hire within our state rather than bring your workforce here and then leave those that have the trades, the IT, have those, leave us out. We're being pushed out of our own city because we're allowing that. And so once again, I want to make sure before I just say something out of my, I am currently working on this as we speak.
Right.
So whether it's mayor or not, you're going to see NaTisha Brooks's face again, probably at the Urban League, saying, hey, this is something that we need to put forth to say, if you're coming in, we need you've got to pay this before you come in. And that goes definitely for the businesses. Now, as far as the small businesses matter. Beauticians, barbers, the business tax structure is off the chain. That came with the increase with property taxes.
That's
too.
part of the state, but as you talk about small business owners and entrepreneurs, what can a Brooks administration, what should they look for in a Brooks administration? Some incentives, microloans. What would you like to?
For the small businesses?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. So for small businesses, I'd like to those that are giving back into their community. I would like to see them have a cut, a rebate, if you will, on their taxes, on their business taxes. Those that are, I'm just going to use my son's barber for example. Every year he cuts hair for free for kids going back to school.
Yes, ma'am.
He needs to get some type of business.
But that's more state. So how do you include that from a city standpoint? Because as mayor, your functionality is Nashville-Davidson County.
Right. So as mayor, for the incentives that small business owners would have, we can look at parking incentives. We don't talk enough about that. Not paying for parking.
Says the woman who had her car towed.
Yes. We can also look at incentives on housing too.
Mm-hmm.
You own a small business. Some of you are running your businesses out of your homes. Yes, that's a state thing, but we can also use it as a
from a city standpoint.
Yes, from a city standpoint, we can use that as from a city standpoint of you giving back because we do have city taxes too.
Right.
Right.
So when you said that this is not your first time running. Tell us what you were doing prior to that. Like as far as giving back, you talked about being a farmer. You're a retired educator. What other things were you doing to help empower the community?
Well, I already have given back. I did work at St. Clement Academy. It's an Egyptian school. Substitute teaching. We are short. So even though I'm retired, I do wait for phone calls. I do help out as much as I possibly can. I had to actually leave early with St. Clement Academy because there were so many forums that were during the day that I couldn't continue to do it. I do go home every 2 weeks to check on the property and the farm.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of the reasons I ran for Congress. We need to extend. We got to talk about immigration. That's another subject. But when they only can work here for 6 months and they have to go back, it affects farmers.
Yes,
they have to go through the process all over again. For those of you that don't know that. Another thing that I do, I am Nashville Civitan. We look at organizations like this and we write checks. We bring them in, we bring a speaker in, you tell us about your organization, and we donate to many, many causes. At least twice a month we donate because we meet now twice a month. And we write a check to an organization. So if you have an organization out there that you would like Nashville Civitan to listen, hook us up, come speak to us, present to us what you do, and we donate.
All right. So as we come to a close, and because we know that you have plenty of places to be, we want to thank you for spending time with us here at the Urban League of Middle Tennessee. But here's something else to know. You know that our last election, we had in Nashville, Davidson County, 38% of the voters that voted, which we are at the bottom. And sometimes we say 45, sometimes we say 50. We're between, we're at the bottom. Tell us or look to the camera and talk to that first time voter, he or she, and tell them why they should vote for NaTisha Brooks for mayor.
This is the first election to the last election that is going to affect you, your children, and your children's children. You have one shot to get this right. I'm asking for your vote because one thing we didn't talk about that is a stigma in our community of color is mental health. Every single day, yesterday, 17 African American males across the country took their life. We can no longer cover this up, that it's not an issue within our community. Governor Bill Lee passed $250 million in mental health. Where's the money? Where are the clinics? As your mayor, I will ensure that we get that money to Nashville for free mental health clinics around the metropolitan Davidson County. Everyone's insurance does not pay for mental health. Really, only 80% of us that have insurance, mental health is covered. So we want to make sure that mental health is available for everyone. Another reason why you should vote for NaTisha as mayor is as a former educator, we have teachers daily turning in their keys. They can no longer afford to live in the city that they teach and police officers that they serve. $70,000 a year to start, plus a living stipend. I wonder what 5 other urban cities in this country do this for their teachers and first responders. I talk, you listen, do your research. We know this can be done for Nashville too. Trade schools matter. entrepreneurships matter. We need to add to the Tennessee curriculum, which I will be advocating for, that individuals are able to start their businesses and get a certificate before they leave high school because everybody's not going to college. Our seniors and our disabled and those that are in the $50,000 year and below, we need to ensure that you have income based affordable housing. I accent that so that you too don't have to leave the city that we love. And finally, before we cut it off, I would love to see Nashville, Metro Davidson County, home of the Grand Ole Opry, that some of the signs as you come into Davidson County say home of the Fisk Jubilee Singers. We have so much culture here. Instead of all of the streets being named after history, we name them after cultures and our musicians and our entertainers that make Nashville, Metro Davidson County, the it city of not just brotherly love, Philadelphia, the it city of brotherly and sisterly love.
There you have it, Nashville. NaTisha Brooks as your candidate for Nashville Davidson County Mayor. I would want to remind you that early voting starts July the 14th and Election Day is August the 3rd. Thank you so much, and we hope that you are empowered to vote.